بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. So, alhamdulillah, today we're going to continue on the story of Adam alayhi salam. And from last class or last session, there was a couple of questions that remained. So inshallah we'll address those questions also. So a couple of the ayat that we're going to look at today, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وإذ قال ربك للملائكة إني جاعل في الأرض خليفة قالوا أتجعل فيها من يفسد فيها ويسفك الدماء ونحن نسبح بحمدك ونقدس لك قال إني أعلم ما لا تعلمون. And then from the new ayat today, وَإِذْ قُلْنَا لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ اسْجُدُوا لِآدَمَ فَسَجَدُوا إِلَّا إِبْلِيسَ أَبَى وَاسْتَكْبَرَ وَكَانَ مِنَ الْكَافِرِينَ وَقُلْنَا يَا آدَمُ اسْكُنْ أَنْتَ وَزَوْجُكَ الْجَنَّةَ وَكُلَا مِنْهَا رَغَدًا حَيْثُ شِئْتُمَا وَلَا تَقْرَبَا هَذِهِ الشَّجَرَةَ فَتَكُونَا مِنَ الظَّالِمِينَ فأزلهما الشيطان عنها فأخرجهما مما كان فيه وقل اهبطوا بعضكم لبعض عدو ولكم في الأرض مستقر ومتاع إلى حين. So translation of these ayat, when Allah told the angels that I am going to make a khalifa in the earth, and they said, will you place on it someone who is going to cause corruption, who will cause blood to flow, while we are praising you and we're glorifying you. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that I know what you do not know. And then later on Allah says, He commanded the angels, Usjudu li Adam, prostrate to Adam. So they prostrated to him except for Iblis. He refused and he displayed arrogance and he became one of the kafirin, the ungrateful one, the disbelievers. Then we said, O Adam, live you along with your wife in Jannah and eat and drink from wherever you like. Eat from it whatever you like, from wherever you like, but do not approach this tree, or else you will be from the wrongdoers. So Shaitan made them slip from where they were, and he took them out from those conditions that they were in. So then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, we said that descend some enemies of others, so you will have a place to stay in the earth and enjoyment for a short while. So the question from last class, why did the angels ask about the creation of man? And what was the difference in their asking and that of Shaitan's? And then today's topics for discussion, we're going to look at Adam alayhi salam, the origin of his name, and to whom he was sent. Then was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told Adam alayhi salam, live you and your wife in Jannah. So some lessons from this ayat. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told them, do not approach this tree. So we'll look at this prohibition from approaching and what was meant by the tree. Then in terms of Shaitan, we'll see the origin of his name and what it meant that he made them slip. And the last point we'll look at is descending his enemies. So why did the angels ask about the creation of man? So one thing which I mentioned briefly last time is that the angels, they do not disobey Allah in the least. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لا يعصون الله ما أمرهم ويفعلون ما يؤمرون. They cannot disobey Allah in what He orders them, and they can only do what Allah orders them. So on one hand, there is the exclusion from disobeying Allah in the least. They do not disobey Allah. And then on the other hand, that they are doing only what Allah orders them to do. So you have both these things. So when you see that they cannot disobey Allah, and they only do what Allah wants them to do and what Allah has ordered them to do, then we come to understand that this questioning of theirs was something which Allah had intended for them, that they would ask Allah. And then, just as a sign, later on, we see in many ahadith that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is telling us that Allah is boasting in front of the angels. Allah is boasting in front of the angels. That to show the value for this man, whatever little that he is doing. Allah is shakur. He recognizes and he shows gratitude. So when this human who is full of desires, full of inclinations towards wrong things, full of temptations, when he does something good, then Allah starts boasting in front of the angels, look, my slave so-and-so, he is full of desires, full of temptations, full of needs and necessities, but he is still freeing himself up for my worship. He is still doing what I want him to do, and he is leaving what he himself wants to do. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala boasts in front of the angels. So this questioning from the angels, this was something which Allah had intended for them. So that's one thing. And then we'll get to the other point of what differentiates their questioning from the questioning of shaitan. But now let's look at the question, that how did they know that this human would create mischief in the world? The angels, they say in one of the ayat we read last time, La ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana. We have no knowledge except for what you have taught us. The angels, they do not know except what Allah has taught them. So through some means or other, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had instructed and had showed these angels that this human, he will have this inclination, that he will cause corruption, that he will make blood flow. So it's established that Allah gave them this knowledge. How exactly was this knowledge conveyed to them? There is discussion. So some are of the opinion that is by usage of the word khalifa. Inni ja'ilun fil ardi khalifa. And the usage of the word khalifa denotes someone who sets the affairs right. That there's a problem, his job is to set things right. When there's corruption, it's to fix them up. And when there's nothing that is particularly wrong, he's trying to improve the conditions. This is the job of the khalifa. So just by the usage of this word, and they understood what this word meant from what knowledge Allah had given them, that's one of the takes, that perhaps this is how they came to understand that there would be corruption, and this khalifa would be the one to correct this corruption which is going on. Another opinion is that they saw the similar type of behavior from jinns. The jinns who were there prior to the creation of humans, they were there, and they used to do the same type of thing, cause corruption, make blood flow, spill blood. And another opinion is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He told them, it might not be mentioned here, but Allah could have told them outright that I'm going to make a human, I'm going to make this khalifa, and he will have these tendencies, and that he will behave in such and such manner. So they, just taking this aspect, they projected it on all of the people, that why are you going to make someone who's going to do this type of thing? So these are the takes on why the angel asked about the creation of man. And what we know for sure is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala conveyed this knowledge to them in one way or another. Now the difference between the angels asking and the asking, shaitan's asking, we already have established that the asking of the angels was restricted. All of the angels' actions are restricted. The angels are not doing what they want to do. They're doing what they have been told to do, and they're not disobeying when Allah has ordered them to do something. And these angels have not been asked to do anything wrong. Whenever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala orders them, they do exactly what Allah has told them to do. So there is no negative motive. By these texts of the Quran, we can rule out any negative motive. That we have to, our iman leads us to this conclusion that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He does not order them to do anything wrong, so they are not going to be asking with any negative motive. So they're not objecting against Allah. Why are you doing this? They're not berating the humans either. Look at this guy, he doesn't know anything. He's just going to make problems. And the angels, they do not feel jealousy either. They've not been ordered to do any of these things. They've not been ordered to object. They've not been ordered to lower, to disgrace, to berate anyone. They've not been ordered to be jealous. So these things are all out of the question. They're not doing for any of these reasons. وَيَفْعَلُونَ مَا يُؤْمَرُونَ. They're doing what they have been ordered to do. So Allah had put this curiosity in them, And with this curiosity, they were asking as to why Allah would send such a creation as His Khalifa on the earth. This guy's, what is the wisdom behind it? So Allah is the one who instilled this curiosity in them, and through this curiosity, they were asking. Whereas Shaitan, his questioning was very different. Right from his wording, you can see that he is displaying arrogance. The angels, by the nusus, by the text, we can rule this out, that they're not displaying arrogance because they have not been ordered to do so. يَفْعَلُونَ مَا يُؤْمَرُونَ. And they've not been ordered, they do what they've been ordered to do, and they've not been ordered to be jealous, to be arrogant. But Shaitan, his story is different. He is not restricted. And with this jealousy in him, that why should I prostrate? Now so this is how we have this difference. And it became apparent when they were ordered to make sajda. It became apparent when they were ordered to prostrate. That when the angels were ordered to prostrate, they prostrated. Had they felt superior or not, but had they really felt, whether they actually felt superior or not is another story, but had they felt superior, it would have been, it would have demonstrated itself in their actions. It would have demonstrated itself in their actions. But they fell prostrate to Adam alayhi salam. So this shows that they were not arrogant, they were not jealous, they were not objecting, it was just curiosity. And then on the other hand, Shaitan, who was jealous, who did not like to see that this creation, who is apparently lower than him, I'm being ordered to prostrate to him. So he did not like that, and he did not prostrate. So through their actions, we can verify that Shaitan was asking out of jealousy, out of malice. And the angels, they're asking out of curiosity. Anyone can claim one thing that, oh no, I didn't mean to ask that. That's not what I meant. But things become clear when the actions come out. As they say, actions speak louder than words. So when it was time for action, then Shaitan did not fall prostrate, whereas the angels, they did exactly what they were ordered. So this was just covering that topic which some of the brothers and sisters had mentioned that they wanted to get further information about. Inshallah, if there's anything that you want further information about, you can let the brothers know, organizers, and they'll get the questions to me, and I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So Adam alayhi salam, the origin of his name. So in the books of tafsir, it's mentioned that in the heavens he's known as Abu Muhammad. On the earth he is known as Abu al-Bashar. And his name is Adam. So from Alif Dal Mim, there are two types of words which come. One is al-udma, like al-humra. Al-humra is red. Ahmar is the male word for red. Hamra is the female word for red. And then there's adim, which means the surface or the skin. Some have said that Adam alayhi salam was called Adam because his skin was a brownish, reddish color. And then others have said, no, he was Adam because he was made from the surface of the earth. And then I mentioned last time, one hadith about the angels, that Jibreel alayhi salam was first ordered to go and take some part of the earth, and then the earth said, no, you're not going to take any of me. So he went back to Allah. And then Mikail alayhi salam did the same thing. And then third came Malakul Maut, and then he grabbed the earth, said, I seek Allah's protection from you. He said, I seek Allah's protection that I go back not having done what I was told to do. So he goes and he takes all these pieces and he brings them together. So all these pieces of the earth which he gathered, the Adimul Ard, the surface of the earth, on this basis that Adam alayhi salam was created from the surface of the earth, that is why he is called Adam. So both of these words, al-udma, brown, or adim, both of them are formed from the same root letters, alif, dal, and mim. And these, they both have some meaning. So some ulama have gone one way, some ulama have gone the other. Imam Qurtubi, he goes in the opinion that he is from Adimul Ard, that he is formed from the different parts and the different, from the surface of the earth. So Adam alayhi salam, to whom was he sent? When Adam alayhi salam was created, there was nobody but him. And then from his rib, so it's mentioned that he was walking around in Jannah, taking a look around. He lay down, took rest. And then during this time, Hawa, Eve, was created from one of his ribs. So at the beginning, there was nothing but these two. There was Adam alayhi salam first and foremost. Then his wife, Hawa, came. And then there was the two of them. And from there, once they were sent to the earth, then they had husband and wife. They had, mashallah, many children. And for them, the children used to be born in pairs, one boy and one girl at a time. From one womb, there'd be a boy and girl at a time, boy and girl at a time, boy and girl at a time. So the boy was to marry the girl of another womb, and the girl was to marry a boy of another womb. And like this, they were to marry, siblings other than, a spouse other than their own siblings. So from there, humankind started forming. One important point to keep in mind is that these were the children of a prophet, of a couple that spent some time in Jannah already. So all of these people, all of these children, they were all believers. They were all believers. So to whom was Adam alayhi salam sent? He was sent to his own children. His nation was his own children. This is to whom Adam alayhi salam was sent. So Adam alayhi salam was sent to his children of his, and his children were all believers. So from this we understand that even the believers are in need of the da'wat of a prophet. Everyone needs to hear the da'wat of a prophet. Believer or non-believer, however you want to call it. The people who have not accepted the da'wat yet, the people who have not until now heard the da'wat, they have not heard the invitation, or even those people who have accepted the invitation. All types of people need to keep on hearing the invitation of a prophet. These were children who were underneath the prophet, but they were in need. And like this, Allah kept on sending prophets. So we see in Bani Israel, sort of take a little tangent here. But in Bani Israel, so Israel is Yaqub alayhi salam. Israel alayhi salam is Yaqub alayhi salam. He's also a prophet. He's Yusuf alayhi salam's father. We all hear about the 12 tribes of Bani Israel. Ya abati inni ra'aytu ahada ashara kawkaban wa shamsa wal qamara ra'aytuhum li sajidin. Yusuf alayhi salam says that, oh my dear father, I saw 11 stars and the sun and the moon. I saw them prostrating to me. So these 11 stars plus Yusuf alayhi salam, these are the 12 children of Israel alayhi salam, Yaqub alayhi salam. These are the heads of the Bani Israel. They were children of a prophet, son of a prophet, and his children, and amongst them there were prophets. But the nation that received the most prophets was Bani Israel. They received the most prophets, and they were children of prophets. So there's always a need for the da'wat of a prophet. Listening to the talks of the greatness of Allah is always needed, whether it be for someone who has been Muslim his whole life, someone who has never heard about Islam, or someone who has heard and has denied. But all these people they need to hear the da'wat. And so Adam alayhi salam was sent to his own children. And we'll get to shaitan later on. But Adam alayhi salam was making one line of effort, shaitan was working in the opposite direction. So there was always this need. And then as we'll see later on, with the sons of Adam alayhi salam, some of them fell into major sins. But this is the weakness of humans. So this is also another topic that inshallah we'll get to later on. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَقُلْنَا يَا آدَمْ أُسْكُنْ أَنْتَ وَزَوْجُكَ الْجَنَّةِ وَكُلَا مِنْهَا رَغَدًا حَيْثُ شِئْتُمَا. Allah said, live you and your spouse in Jannah, commanding Adam alayhi salam, stay in Jannah. So from this, there's some are of the opinion that before this, Adam alayhi salam was not in Jannah. And then others are of the opinion, no, he was in Jannah. The fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling Uskun anta wa zawjuka al-jannah, that you live you and your spouse in Jannah, you along with your spouse live in Jannah. This does not exclude the possibility that they were already there, but now they have just been explicitly given the permission, or they've been given the order to stay there. And other ahadith seem to support the fact that he was already in Jannah. So from this, ulama have started taking out ahkam, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Uskun anta wa zawjuka al-jannah. So in this first half, he's saying, O Adam, you, along with your wife, stay in Jannah. And then in the next part, he says, وَكُلَا مِنْهَا رَغَدًا حَيْثُ شِئْتُمَا. So from the first part, they say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking to Adam alayhi salam, that he is addressing him that you stay there, this will be your sukna. And وَزَوْجُكَ الْجَنَّةِ, and you must provide this residence for your wife as well. You are foremost, you have this sukna, you have this residence, and it is your responsibility to provide this residence for your wife. And this follows through to us as well. The man, it is his responsibility to provide a place of staying, to provide residence for his wife. So she is she is following, so to speak, the husband in terms of where he will stay. وَكُلَا مِنْهَا رَغَدًا حَيْثُ شِئْتُمَا. But now when it comes to eating, وَكُلَا مِنْهَا, and eat, both of you eat from it. Now they're both at the same level. So each one has a different responsibility. Sometimes people say that, how come the men have some responsibility and the women do not? How come the men can be imams and the women cannot? Okay, imam it's a problematic thing. You really don't want to be imam, trust me. You really don't want to do that. Even I don't want to do that. I'm looking to get out of it. But it's a responsibility. So some responsibilities have been given to men, others to women. And those of men can never, the ones which are exclusively for men, they're not to be taken by women. And those which have been exclusively given to women are not to be taken by men. I have my little baby daughter, and when she was younger, then she would cry for milk. Now if my wife has gone to the toilet, or she's not feeling well, of course no parent likes to see their son crying in distress. And I know that all she wants is milk, and I can't give her that milk no matter how much I want to, and she's not ready to take the bottle. Now I can hold her close, I can try to make her feel warm, but I can never give her that milk. That's one job that I as a man could never do, as much as I would like to do it, as much as I would like to give my children ease and comfort and make them feel happy and remove their distress, but that's something that I will never be able to do. So each one has their own thing that they have to do. As much as I would like to take away the pains from my wife during labor, I would like her not to go through that pain. I'll take the pain. I take many pains. Just add another one to the list. But that's something that I will never have, the option to do. And maybe I should make shukr for it. So just like, the women should make shukr that they don't have to worry about this headache of imamat. The men maybe should make shukr they don't have to worry about this headache of wiladat, giving birth. Everyone has their responsibilities. So the husband would be the first, would be in the forefront of determining a house and then providing this house, this residence for his wife. Whereas when it comes to food, I'm a coffee drinker. My wife, she drinks chai, she drinks tea. I say it with a bit of spite, I shouldn't, but we got baggage. So she drinks tea, that's fine. وَكُلَا مِنْهَا رَغَدًا حَيْثُ شِئْتُمَا. So the wife is sort of subservient to the husband with respect to the housing, but she has equal terms with respect to food. She doesn't have to follow that the husband drinks coffee, now the wife has to drink coffee. Nope. My wife says, I ain't touching your coffee. You want my tea? Fine, but I ain't touching your coffee. So we're at an impasse here. So you go your way, I go mine. You drink your tea, I drink my coffee. So this is another thing that some of the ulama have mentioned concerning this ayat. that eating and drinking, these things, they are not, the woman is not subservient, or she is not, tabi' to what the man, suggests, likes. But in terms of the residence, there's this fact that she's a bit tabi' to the husband. And then in the next part of the same ayat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَا تَقْرَبَا هَذِهِ الشَّجَرَةِ فَتَكُونَ مِنَ الظَّالِمِينَ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells them, both of them, do not approach this tree. Do not approach. He says, do not approach. He did not say, do not eat from this tree. He said, do not approach this tree. So in one hand, this is an emphatic prohibition. Like Allah says, وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا الزِّنَا. Do not even approach zina. Do not even get close to it. Zina in itself is haram. We understand, in deen, under Islamic law, which will be determined by the judge and which will not be passed, by a bunch of group, some individuals or others. But we know what the punishment of zina is. We know what the punishment of fornication is. But this punishment will be passed by the judge, which, running Islamic law. We're not going to pass these judgments here in Canada. That's not how it works. And it's not going to be some individual who passes it either, that I saw this guy doing that, so I'm going to go and carry out the had on my own. No, it doesn't work like that either. The case will have to be taken up in the court and it'll have to be raised up to the judge, and the judge will, seeing the evidence, he will pass the judgment. So it's something which is very dangerous. Zina is very dangerous, although it's not considered very big here, but the reality is that it is dangerous, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has warned us against it very emphatically. So in the same manner, وَلَا تَقْرَبَ هَذِهِ الشَّجَرَةِ. Do not approach this tree. So very emphatically they're being told not to approach this tree. So this is something in deen what we call saddu dhara'i, blocking the means. That when there is something which is haram, then we block the means to reach this haram. So for example, zina in itself is haram. Now me, gazing at the girls is something which will lead me to zina. That's why I have been told to lower my gaze. That's why the girls have been told to lower their gaze. The believing men, believing women have been given the same order, to lower their gaze, so that we do not approach this means. If I have to talk, there's some very important, some necessary matter, then, it's permissible to talk to someone of the opposite gender. But if there's no pressing need to do it, then it's something that should be avoided. Because, it starts off talking, hello, hi, salam, and then a bit of a nearness comes, informality, and then, we're humans. We're humans. I think that I'm doing it for pure intentions, and then I realize down the line that, wait a second, my intentions ain't that good after all. So this is one of the things. وَلَا تَقْرَبَا هَذِهِ الشَّجَرَةِ. Blocking the means. It's a very emphatic way to prohibit them from even getting close to this tree, so they do not fall into the mistake. Then he says, هَذِهِ الشَّجَرَةِ, this tree. So what type of a tree is mentioned? The exact type of tree is not clearly stated. Some have mentioned that it's wheat, some say that it was grapes, some mention other things. But the exact type of tree has not been mentioned clearly. But more pertinent to this discussion, is it a specific type of tree, or was it a specific tree? Like, was it, do not approach this tree, sort of like pointing at a maple tree? Now, sometimes when I say, don't take this, I might be instructing someone not to take other people's cell phones in general. Or I might just be meaning that don't take this particular phone. So both of these meanings can be understood. And the ambiguity in this statement is a bit important, because this is what shaitan will play on. So now on to the discussion of shaitan. Shaitan, the origins of his name. Shaitan, he was called Iblis. And Iblis comes from the root letters Ba, Lam, Sin, which means to despair. And Iblis is someone who is despairing from Allah's forgiveness. Once he disobeyed him, after having seen him, after having been so close, now he despairs that Allah will never forgive me. So this is Iblis. Then there's Shaitan, which comes from Shaitana, means to be far. Shaitan is far from Allah's mercy. So these are this is the origin of their names, and this is the meaning. The person who is despaired from Allah's mercy and the person who is far from Allah's mercy. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that Shaitan made them slip. Shaitan made them slip and took them out from what they were in, meaning the conditions of ease and comfort and having nice food and drink and whatnot. So one issue comes up here. The aqidah of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'at concerning the prophets. Do the prophets Alayhi Salam sin or no? So it is the majority opinion in Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'at that the prophets neither sin major sins nor minor sins. They do not do either type of sins. There are a few who have said that they do not commit major sins for sure, but there's a bit of scope for minor sins. But this is the minority opinion. And the correct stance is that they do not sin. So now the question arises that if they do not sin, then how come these words of sin are being attributed to the Prophet ﷺ? So there's several explanations concerning that. One thing is that the ghafla, the unmindfulness of the regular people. A person, he doesn't do something, he does something unmindfully. A person he'll just stand and he'll start drinking with his left hand. A person has no connection with deen, and then he says Bismillah and he starts drinking with his left hand. Say, man, okay, guy didn't know. So inshallah he will not be. But someone who is knowledgeable, he's an alim, and his whole life he has been acting upon sunnah, and then he starts drinking with the left hand. Now this is very problematic. It's not, in the grand scheme of things, it's not like he's committed kufr or anything. But for his status, that piece of that dirty cloth, that dirty crushed cloth, another stain comes on it, you're like, okay, so what's the difference? But when you have that nice, clean, ironed, white, shiny white cloth, and then just a little speck comes on it, everyone's attention goes to that one speck. See? The other one was dirty, a big stain came on it, they didn't notice. But when a little speck came on it, then all of a sudden, it became very clear that there's something there. So in the same manner, the Prophet ﷺ, they slipped up. They did not commit sins. And their slip up was on the basis of either forgetfulness or either, ambiguity. That was the reason for their slipping up. So like we said, Shaitan made them slip. And this is why we brought up this discussion about what kind of tree was it. Was it mentioned this tree in general? Or was it meant this type of tree? Allah says, وَلَا تَقْرَبَا. So there was, Shaitan, he was expelled, or he was told to leave Jannah prior to this. So Shaitan has been told to leave, and now he worked on them to make them slip up. So again, the exact mechanics of how he worked on them to make them slip up, there's discussion. But what we know for sure is that Allah had already established that these would be the Khalifa. This human would be Khalifatul Inni ja'ilun fil ardi Khalifa. I'm going to make a Khalifa on the earth. So that is established. Allah had already destined it to be like that. And what was the means through which Adam alayhi salam would become Khalifa fil ard when he is already in Jannah? He's in Jannah at this point. How did Allah destine him to become a Khalifa on the earth? Ja'ilun fil ardi Khalifa. Shaitan was to become the means. So this brings up to a point which we generally discuss in Aqidah. Iradatullah mashi'atillah. Allah wants us to do good, but in the same, so what does He want from His slaves? He wants them to obey Allah. But His destiny is such that He has made people disobey. Sometimes a person will fall into some sin, just in the same manner as Allah does not like zina, but Allah had intended that some of the Sahaba of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would fall into it, so that the Ummah afterwards can understand what to do in that type of situation. So Allah had destined it to happen, whereas, it's not something which Allah commands us to do, but Allah had destined that such a thing would happen. So in the same way, Allah had told Shaitan to leave this Jannah. Now, how did he go about convincing Adam alayhi salam and Hawa to have, from this fruit? Again, there is discussion. Some are of the opinion that Shaitan came, he stood at the door end. He, at a distance, he did his waswasa. Just as for, Shaitan, he's not up against him whispering in his ear, go do this, do that. But through the means that Allah has decreed, Shaitan is implanting these thoughts into the heart and to the mind of this person. So one take is like this. Another take is that he came in disguise, as is the capability of the jinns to change their shapes. So he came into Jannah in disguise, and since it was destined that he would be the means to bring Adam alayhi salam out, he was able to get in, and he was able to commit the mischief that he had to commit. But so regardless of what the exact mechanics were, there are different explanations which are given. But bottom line is, in other places in the Quran, the wording is such that it, becomes, it gives weight to the side that Shaitan himself did come back in to Jannah. It gives weight to that argument. And then, he started deceiving Adam alayhi salam. And later on in the Quran, it's mentioned that Shaitan, while advising Adam alayhi salam, he tells him that, I am a well-wishing, I am really a well-wisher for you. I'm your well-wisher. So a person who has not seen deception, he remains naive. So Shaitan comes and says, look, I'm your well-wisher. I want good for you. So he says, have some of that. And on some ambiguity, because no prophet would outright commit disobedience to Allah. This goes against our belief. This is against the aqidah of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, that the prophets will outright commit disobedience. So he did not commit this disobedience knowingly. Rather, it was through some ambiguity, some confusion, some forgetfulness that this slip up occurred. And in the topic, the section of Adam alayhi salam's name, we took a look at Adam, and Adam alayhi salam is from insan. And they say that insan comes from nisyan, which means to forget. And this forgetfulness, sometimes it works against us. Most of the times, sometimes it works against us. But without knowing, many of the times it works in our favor. But this is something that we are unmindful of also. Someone who loses a loved one, person lost his mother, person lost his wife, lost his child. The pain that he felt at that time was something which was unbearable. But over time he forgets. A person went through surgery. He got cut. The recovery period, even now, is painful. But over time, he forgot about it. So this forgetfulness, which is one of the qualities of the human, it is also a blessing. It's a blessing in disguise. It works both ways, for us and against us. So it might have been out of unmindfulness. It might have been out of forgetfulness. Or it might have been out of some ambiguity that Shaitan was able to make Adam alayhi salam slip. But he did make him slip. And they came out, they were sent out. They were removed from the comfortable conditions that they were in. All this ease and comfort. When we look at the ayat, describing about how they were living, وَكُلَا مِنْهَا رَغَدًا حَيْثُ شِئْتُمَا. Eat plentifully from where you like, however you like. Do whatever you like. Enjoy yourselves. And even we don't get to enjoy ourselves here. We're coming to class, long distance travel, taking the bus, taking the metro, in the rain, in the snow. We have relatively comfortable lives, but still there's some hardship in it. Adam alayhi salam and Hawa, they were living a pure, comfortable life. So they were taken out of this comfortable life, out of Jannah as well, and out of this comfortable life. And then they were sent down to this world. They would have a short time. They would find a place to stay in this world. They would be here, mustaqar. They will remain here. وَمَتَاعٌ إِلَى حِينٍ. And they would have some enjoyment here for some short time. These things would both be there, but ila hin. It would only be for a short time. And then returning back to Allah. So inshallah, this pretty much, and then, last bit. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He mentions, He tells, وَقُلْنَا اِحْبِطُوا بَعْضُكُمْ لِبَعْضٍ عَدُوٍ. So come down, enemies, as enemies, some with others. So who is meant in this بَعْضُكُمْ لِبَعْضٍ? Come down as enemies, some to others. It can be amongst the humans that some will be enemies of others. Or it can mean that shaitan, the shayateen, with the humans. These are two takes. But there will be enmity amongst the groups. And if we look at it in the sense that it's the humans against shaitan, who will be enemies with each other, then it also leads down the line into humans being enemies with other humans. Because shaitan incites these feelings of malice, of hatred, of jealousy inside the hearts of the humans. So when they were up in Jannah, there was none of this. But when they came down to the earth, then shaitan, he started working on the people. And this hatred, this enmity took place amongst the people. The shaitan was already their open enemy. There was the humans, shaitan was their open enemy. And shaitan made an effort on the humans. And just as the da'wat of the prophets was always needed, because shaitan was always making his effort. Those who took the message of the shayateen, they would become enemies of those who did not. And they would become enemies amongst themselves as well. So these were a couple of the points that we mentioned that I wanted to cover for today. And let me know, last time I did it and I was informed that we could stand to use a bit more detail. And today I don't know if I did it in too much detail. So inshallah, on your feedback, hopefully I'll strike a balance somehow or other. So inshallah, that's pretty much it. Jazakumullahu khairan. And if there's any questions, then please forward the questions down to our main man here, James Bond. And inshallah, he'll get the questions to me, and hopefully, inshallah, we'll make something good out of this. Jazakumullahu khairan. Subhanallah bihamdihi, subhanakallah bihamdik, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun. Wa salamun ala al-mursalin, walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.